Before we get started, here's a picture of me, my little brother, and SpongeBob in 2002. Cute, isn't it? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now enjoy the review. Now, after the success of the first movie, creator Steven Hillenburg decided that he wanted to leave the show because he felt like after the first movie, what else can you do with the character? You know, you have a movie, 3 successful seasons were good, just why continue? But, Nickelodeon said to him, and I'm pretty sure these are their exact words,
"We've got to have money."
Hillenburg still backed off. He handed the production reins over to one of the head writers, Paul Tibbitt. I haven't really seen a lot of the more recent episodes. I've seen a few of them, nothing really made me laugh that much. Though, I do have it on TV right now. Let's go check out what all the fuss is about, because I've heard a lot of fans griping that, it's just not as funny as it used to be. And I can kind of agree, although there have been some fans that say, it's just even horrifying. I really don't know what they're saying when it comes to horrifying. Let's see what they're talking about. What the fuck? Seriously, people? Seriously? Why? Oh, God. See, it was stuff like this that got me a little worried about this new SpongeBob movie. That and the fact that it was marketed to be both live action and computer animated. Just like all those other classic films that we've seen over the years, like Alvin and the Chipmunks, and the Smurfs, and Yogi Bear, and Garfield, Underdog. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, is directed by Paul Tibbitt, who also currently runs the show. And the story centers around, once again, Plankton trying to steal the Krabby Patty formula. Though this time around, it's different. He finds that when he steals the formula, it disappears from his hands. Like, literally disappears. Of course, people still blame Plankton for stealing the formula, but this time he didn't do it. And so he and SpongeBob have to find out who stole the formula. And it turns out to be this pirate chef played by Antonio Banderas. Yeah, these plots are a little stupid, but then again, it's SpongeBob. What do you expect? So SpongeBob and Plankton have to convince the others to go up to the surface with them, find the formula, and restore balance to Bikini Bottom. Now, as I said before, I was a little nervous about this movie because I didn't know whether or not it was going to be funny. And I was really nervous about it being live action, computer animated, instead of just regular traditional animation. But it turns out the marketing of the movie was actually kind of wrong. Most of the movie is traditional animation. It's only like the last half hour of the movie that's when it gets to the live action and computer animated portion of the film. Again, it just goes back to my argument earlier where we don't get a ton of traditionally animated films nowadays, and that's sad. Because that used to be the normal occurrence for movies. That and the movie feels more like old SpongeBob than current SpongeBob, from what I can tell. And that's due to the fact that the story was conceived by Tibbitt and the show's creator, Steven Hillenburg, who returned. And, the main screenplay was written by Jonathan Abel and Glenn Berger, I believe. They were the writers of the Kung Fu Panda movies. And those movies were actually really good. So, once I heard they were writing, I'm like, oh, okay, then maybe it could be good. Now, once again, all the voice acting was great. Plus, there's this new character that, I'm not gonna lie, he came completely out of left field. It was this, cosmic dolphin or something named Bubbles, who kind of sounded like a cross between like a drunk Patrick Stewart and a drunk Christopher Walken. Again, it's SpongeBob. Just go with it. And but those scenes were still funny. As I said before, Antonio Banderas was this like pirate chef character named Burger Beard. It's obvious he did this movie because he was paid a huge amount of money, probably. But then again, he really didn't come off as annoying for this movie, thank God. Unlike, all the other live-action animated hybrids that we've seen, like the Smurfs and Alvin and the Chipmunks, where the acting from like the human characters were just really over the top. In this, it's more acceptable because SpongeBob can be very over the top. So you can accept it this time around. And when the film actually does get to the live-action computer animated section of the movie, it's actually pretty fun. I mean, I still prefer like when most of the movie was traditional animation, because that's when I think the movie had its strengths. But the last like half hour of the movie, when it was live action and CGI, it still worked. It still worked pretty well. Plus, there are a lot of jokes that like old school SpongeBob fans like myself will pick out and recognize that are really, really funny. The music was pretty good by John Denby, and there were like a few songs from like Pharrell Williams or something. Those were pretty good. All in all, it was still a pretty entertaining film. It surprised me a lot. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. The traditional animation was great. It made me want to see more movies like that nowadays. The voice acting was still great. Antonio Banderas' acting, again, it's over the top, but again, it's SpongeBob. You can accept it for what it is. I still prefer the first movie more than this one, but this one was still pretty good. I'd say like the main demographic for this movie is, old school SpongeBob fans like myself, kids obviously, and stoners. Because there's a lot of imagery in this movie that, I'm not gonna lie, you'd have to be really high off your butt to really pick that up. So, yeah, but it's still very entertaining though. So what do you think? Did you see the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water? Do you want to see it? What's your favorite episode of SpongeBob? Mine would probably have to be Just One Bites, when Squidward admits that he's never had a Krabby Patty before. That episode still holds up extremely well for me. And of course it has that famous like face that SpongeBob made, which is like,
"You like Krabby Patties, don't you, Squidward?"
That episode's probably my favorite by far. Let me know in the comments section down below. And as always, if you like what you saw here, feel free to press that like button, share this video with your friends, and hey, subscribe if you want. So until next time, this is Marc Aquino saying,
Does this look onshore to you?
No.